Oh. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. 'Tis I, Michael A. Grimm, aka the Multi-Voice. I have many voices, but one opinion. And today, this is going to be something very new and very different. This time, I got this graphic novel called The Planetary. The Planetary. And I decided to do a retrospect review, like I did with the Guardians of the Galaxy, but one thing you should know, this book, it's pretty damn long. So I'm not going to be reviewing the entire book, so I thought to myself, I should just do like 3 pages from each of the, 3 issues from this book, because this book has like over 27 issues, so I'm going to be doing so I'm just going to be reading like 3 issues at a time in this review. And so this is going to be a 9-parter issue that I'll be doing. Now, of course, I won't be doing it for the next weekend. I'll probably going to do something else and then probably come back to this. But first off, for those of you who don't know, let's start. You see, Planetary was a pretty awesome comic they have done. Unlike Alan Moore, who does his comic books with dark and gritty and even characters with mental issues and problems. This book was written by a certain author who goes by the name of Warren Ellis. And of course, he had help from an artist who goes by the name of the late, great John Cassidy. And even though the cover says DC, it started out as WildStorm Comics that used to be part of Image until the CEO of WildStorm decided to leave Image and get owned by DC. So, throughout this comic book, it does have characters in the book, but they were owned by WildStorm, so they couldn't use any of the DC or Marvel characters in this book. But they have characters that pretty much gives you the nudge nudge, wink wink, get it kind of thing. So let's dig in. So let's read Planetary issue 1 to 3, shall we? And why 3? Because, when it comes to comic books and everything goes on 3s, right? Here we go. The comic book started out in a desert in the middle of a diner. A diner in the middle of a desert in the middle of nowhere. And we have our main character who goes by the name of Elijah Snow. Now, for those of you who don't know who Elijah Snow is, he's the kind of guy who has the, his last name is Snow, so pretty much anything he touches freezes and turns everything into ice. And he's complaining to the waitress over the taste of the coffee. He says that the coffee tastes like her dog took a leak in it. And the waitress, being sarcastic and bitchy, she's like, well, why drink the damn thing? You ordered it. And then another person showed up in the diner. She goes by the name of Chiquita Wagner. Now, Chiquita Wagner, one thing I know about her, she has super strength and super speed. So she's very, very fast and pretty strong. She shows up into a diner looking for Elijah. And Elijah says, please put up a seat and have some of the crappy coffee. But Chiquita tells Elijah, we got a proposition for you. We got a job for you. And Elijah decided to go along with it. So he went with her. And from out of nowhere, out comes this helicopter. and it leads him into the organization building where Chiquita is asking Elijah to join a group of archaeologists slash detectives who calls himself the Planetary. And of course, he says who funds this organization, and she said it's hard to say. There's a fourth person who owns the organization, but nobody knows who pays for all this. Maybe it's Adolf Hitler or the President of the United States. Who knows? You know, if they make a TV show, who knows? Maybe Donald Trump organized it. I mean, paid for all this. Anyway, they meet another member who's going to be sort of a member of the Planetary. He goes by the name of the Drummer. And he doesn't have a real name. He is called the Drummer. And one thing about him, he can sense technology and vibes from electronic things, and he can even sense living machinery. He can communicate with them. And of course, why he calls himself a drummer, because he carries with drumsticks. And now they're going to go through their first mission. They took the helicopter and go all the way to the first mission, where they found a top secret lair. And in the lair, it has a lot of shattered glass of ancient antiques. And then, from out of nowhere, they discovered that the building they went to was was exactly a lair that is owned by a group of heroes who calls themselves the Secret Society. And for those of you who are wondering, the Secret Society, they're actually a parody reference to Pulp Fiction characters. And I hope you all know what Pulp Fiction is, but, you know, it's like short books of short stories evolving characters before comic books did started out. Now, the leader of the secret organization, there's these characters that are pretty much based on Pulp Fiction literature. Like, we have Dr. Alex Brass, and I know his appearance looked very similar to a certain Pulp Fiction hero I heard of, Doc Savage. And I mentioned Doc Savage on Buckaroo Banzai. And of course, the member of the Secret Society, they found Dr. Brass just the only survivor, while there's bodies of some of the Secret Society and other bones that were related to somebody else. It's like there was a huge fight, and nobody survived except Dr. Brass. Dr. Brass had found a way to make himself survive, although it crippled his legs, made his legs really skinny. But he told him what happened. Him and the Secret Society, where he mentioned that him and the group of Secret Society, which is none of, and some of the member of the Secret Society is, of course, Edison, who is like a very smart scientist. I don't know what Pulp Fiction character who relates to that. And of course, there is Hark, who is like a version of... Now, don't take it personal, but I think he was based out of Fu-Manchu. Because he has the long fingernails and he's Asian, so it just makes me think of that character. And of course, they also have the Aviator, which I knew that character is based out of Beagles, the airplane British pilot who hunts down Germans during World War II. And of course, they have another character named Jimmy. And of course, Lord Blackstock, which he is supposed to be a combined mix of Tarzan, King of the Jungle, and Jungle Jim, the explorer of the jungle. And also Dark Millionaire. And Dark Millionaire, he is based between the Shadow, and the Green Hornet. Anyway, him and the Secret Society, they came across a really weird artifact, which it looks like a giant snowflake. I mean, they found this article, it looks like a golden old-fashioned lamp, and it opened up this giant snowflake right here, folks, which they call it the snowflake of dimension, of the multiverse, which Hark kind of figured it out. He studied the artifact, and of course it was getting brighter and brighter, until, and of course, Dr. Brass showed the planetary, that he kept all the electronic files and everything under the floor. And how this whole fight started, well, it turns out that when they opened up that snowflake of the multiverse, they get attacked by a group that they are like, they call themselves the Invaders from the Snowflake. Now, they're supposed to be like their version of the Justice League, except they're evil. So they're more like the, they're like the nudge nudge wink wink of the crime syndicate. You know, the evil version of the Justice League from Earth 3, where everything is the opposite. But anyway, the Invaders showed up, and now one thing I gotta say, this is supposed to be referencing a battle between Pulp Fiction heroes and superheroes from the comics. So these characters are like the Justice League, except they're evil, and they're battling against Pulp Fiction heroes that's been around since the 30s. And sadly, it was a really bloody and brutal fight that everybody died except Dr. Brass. So now they're taking him into the hospital. And then at the end, Elijah Snow looked at the sun being set, sun going down, and he says this: "It's a strange world." And Chiquita says, "Let's keep it that way." And that was the end of issue 1. Now let's get to issue 2. Now, unlike the first issue where they talk about superheroes and Pulp Fiction characters, this one involves Japanese kaiju stuff. In the story, it takes place in Island Zero, where they say Island Zero is actually an island of monsters, kaiju monsters. And a boat just showed up, and out comes the boat is this fella, who, his name is Ryu, but he's also like to be called Master Storyteller. And him and his second in command, Jun, his name is Jun, they both explore around the island, wondering what they were looking for. And then, from out of nowhere, they found a body of a dead, moth-like monster, which he kind of reminds me of Mothra. Yeah, I'm familiar with Godzilla, folks. It's just I don't like to review Godzilla because there are tons and tons and tons and tons of Godzilla fans out there who did like a review marathon of all the Godzilla films and Gamera's. Although I do have a brother-in-law who is a big, die-hard fan of Godzilla, so I'll probably try to do some Godzillas, but don't hold your breath, folks. I mean, there are some things in Godzilla I really like, and even things in Gamera I really like. But anyway, these guys found the body of a giant moth kaiju, which reminds me of Mothra. While at the same time, the Planetary showed up in Japan, and it turns out there's a Japanese division of the Planetary, and the Japanese division is led by none other than Sensei Fukuda. Fukuda. I'm not cussing, folks. I'm just pronouncing the name. But anyway, Shinsei, he's in charge of the Japanese Planetary, and he's telling them about what happened. That there's a group of people who ended up in Island Zero, and they want to know what Island Zero was, but it turns out that Island Zero is none other than an island with kaiju monsters living there. And of course, he almost tried to insult Elijah, but surprisingly, Elijah spoke Japanese to him, and it shocked the hell out of Shinye. And even Drummer said, "I didn't. Since when you ever speak Japanese?" And Elijah said, "Since 1925. So he speaks Japanese ever since 1925? Sometimes I kind of wonder, how old is Elijah Snow? But anyway, they decided to go to Planet Zero to see what these people have done so far. And of course, there's even a fossilized version that makes me think of Ghidra, because it's a 3-headed winged monster. You know, that's one thing, folks. I remember when I used to watch Godzilla, the first Godzilla film that I ever got myself into Godzilla was, of course, Monster with 3 Heads, where it had Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, and Ghidra. And as a kid, I always thought that Godzilla was this big kaiju superhero type, while Rodan is his sidekick. Mothra is like the one who tells the monsters, tells the heroes what trouble is happening and what they need to do to deal with it. And I always thought that Rodan is his sidekick. But that's just me. While the Planetary goes all the way to Island Zero, and when they finally showed up in the helicopter, they found the giant moth kaiju. While at the same time, Storyteller and Jun, they found a body of this kaiju, which does resemble Godzilla. I guess in this book, Godzilla's dead. But here's the strange part. Master Storyteller decided to camp out inside the dead corpse of this kaiju, this Godzilla-looking kaiju. And Jun asked him, "Are you crazy? This is nuts!" And also said, "How can they live for food?" And he just rips a piece of flesh from that dead kaiju and said, "This will be our food. This will be our home." And even one of the crew members got really sick that he threw up. And when Jun went against the method of what the storyteller was about to say, well, Master Storyteller, he went unhinged and blew Jun's head off. So Elijah and Chiquita trying to stop them, but of course Chiquita, she was really fast, so she went like a flash, just. And then a group of Japanese soldiers showed up and told Master Storyteller to turn around. And they had their guns pointing at them. So Master Storyteller aimed his pistol at one of the bags. Turns out nerve gas was in his bag, so he fired his gun at the nerve gas, and everybody died from inhaling the nerve gas. Even Chiquita noticed about the gas, so she stopped and quickly ran away, and even warned Snow about the nerve gas. But Elijah, being a freezer kind of person, he turned nerve gas into vapors, just breathable. He made the nerve gas disappear. So, they walked into the remains of the dead soldiers, the dead storyteller, and of course, the giant Godzilla-looking body. I guess Master Storyteller wanted to make Godzilla body be his home, which I gotta say, that's nuts. And he thinks that most of the kaiju monsters are mostly dead. But of course, Elijah looked up, and out comes this kaiju flying by, which he pretty much reminds me of Rodan. So it turns out that even though some of the kaiju monsters are gone in Island Zero, turns out there are other ones that are still alive. And even Elijah Snow says, "I thought you said they died off." And Chiquita said, "I did. Isn't that great?" Now let's get to issue number 3. Now, unlike the second issue where they're in Japan, this one here takes place in China. And this one is going to be more supernatural, which I always knew that China and most of the Asia, they've always been more into the supernatural stuff. I mean, they do believe that ghosts exist, and they always burn incense to respect their spirits. But anyway, in Hong Kong, turns out there was a prostitute who got murdered by a crooked cop. And this crooked cop says, "Money to make, drugs to make, whores to kill. Hong Kong is so kind to me." What an asshole. I can't believe he killed a prostitute. But from out of nowhere, out comes this apparition, this ghost, who goes by the name of Shin-Chi Wei. Shin-Chi Wei. He's supposed to be like this ghost cop who's going for vengeance. And when a bunch of bad guys driving their car, he just stood right in front of them, holding up his badge, but they can't see him. And he starts aiming his gun at them, so he fired their guns and pumped their guts full of lead while he's going right through the car. Damn, that's scary. Even that one crooked cop that killed a pimp, who goes by the name of Tony, he was like, "No, no, no!" And of course, the ghost cop fired his gun on the car and pumped their guts full of lead. But Tony almost survived. He says, "I'm not scared. I'm not scared. Never seen so much blood." But of course, Chick, the ghost cop, fired his gun, and the gun was covered with flames, and it impaled him, and he burst into flames. And then he disappeared. Meanwhile, Elijah, Chiquita, and the drummer, they went to the Hong Kong division of Planetary, and there they meet one of their Hong Kong members, who goes by the name of Michelle. And she starts telling them what's going on. A lot of crooked cops kept getting killed one by one, all because one cop was murdered, and his murder was never been found. So they're going to go check to it. So they went out at night. And of course, here's the shocker. The drummer sensed something under the ground, under the floor of Hong Kong. and he asked Chiquita to stomp on the ground, and then a big electric wave just appeared out of the ground, and Drummer and Chiquita told everybody to step back, and then this huge monument appeared out of the ground of Hong Kong. And they kept wondering what it was, and out comes the ghost cop. The Chexin Wei. Chexin Wei. And of course, he told him, and of course, the reason why he's killing crooked cops is because he was once a good, decent cop until two cops, one named Tony and the other one and his partner named Muck, they murdered him in a dark alley because they wanted money and, they were crooked cops. They weren't decent cops. So now, Shek wants vengeance. So, he is vengeance. He is the Knight. But he's not Batman. And after he got done telling them his story, he disappeared. All of a sudden, this other cop showed up, what turns out to be Mock. That's Mock right here. His partner who betrayed him. He was about ready to ram his car towards them, but Chiquita, she ran towards it and gave it a powerful kick, and it damaged the car, and Mock just jumped out of the first windshield of the car. Well, at the same time, Shek fired his gun at another car where his partner is at. And now, Shek confronted Mock, and he finally got his vengeance because justice is served. So, he fired his gun right on Mock. And after that, justice is served. And his last words was, "You people come looking for a mystery, but there is none. There's just us." And Drummer says, "Did he say justice?" And Elijah said, "No, just us." And that is the end of this review for today. And this will be the last story I'm going to tell you. So if any of you like the story so far, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe. My final thoughts, folks, is that I like the first story where it involves Pulp Fiction characters. I mean, to me, not only did I love superheroes, I love Pulp Fiction characters because they were the main source of most of the origins to our superheroes that we all knew and loved. I mean, I always loved the Shadow. I always enjoyed Doc Savage. And, of course, I knew that my character, Buck Rogers, he's definitely Pulp Fiction. No doubt about that. Even John Carter of Mars, he's part Pulp Fiction, too. Now, in the second issue, I mean, it involves kaiju, so those of you who are Godzilla fans, here's your fix. There you go. And I'll probably do a Godzilla one, maybe, or maybe a Gamera. I mean, who knows? And the other one, the third one, where it involves Chinese ghost story, I gotta say it's pretty good. So I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen next on issue 4, 5, and 6. So you guys stay tuned for part 2 of my multi-voice reviewer, the Planetary. So this is Michael A. Grimm, aka the multi-voice, telling you all, I remember so I can jog your memory.